Hi everybody, it's Lady Kaylah, and I'm going to do another vlog on mental health. This one's going to be a lot more focused on a topic. I finally came up with a topic that I actually thought on and I can probably expand on, and it's going to do with responsibility and mental health, because I tend to, out of my mental health, I tend to do things such as distancing myself, projecting emotions and feelings, and withdrawing, and um, I also tend to convince myself that people around me feel certain ways about me that they might not actually feel, and and then I react accordingly by usually doing stuff like distancing. And the whole responsibility aspect comes in because while it would be nice for a lot of people to understand how mental health works and to be a lot more understanding about things that might happen because of someone's mental health, that's not how the world works. And I've worked very, very hard on things like communication and being able to speak about how I'm feeling during certain situations. Like, I will always do the I don't always do it. It's something I'm really working on, so I take that back. But I will try to be more aware of when I'm feeling a certain way, and I will go up to people and I will be like, "Hey, I feel like you don't um, feel like the way you used to about me, or maybe you feel irritated with me, or maybe I just been feeling like you don't like me lately," or stuff like that. And I will, depending on how I'm feeling or what I've convinced myself or what scenario my brain has made up, I will talk to the person about it. And sometimes it actually ends up that that person um, was doing the things that I was suspecting, and talking about it and being open about it kind of just brought it to the light a little bit more. But sometimes it is my brain, and sometimes it is my mental health, and I have to take responsibility for what my mental health does, because not everyone's going to be so understanding, and things happen when when your mental health is a factor. And distancing yourself can lead to things like losing friends, or losing connections, or even certain aspects of relationships may occur because of my mental health, or your mental health, or whatever the situation is. um, and a lot of times we want to be like, well, they should have been understanding, they should have known, or it's not my fault. And what, I will never say that it is my fault. I don't ever feel like it's my fault, but I also have to be aware of factors outside of me, that I have to look back and be like, wow, I, in a depressive phase, stayed in my room for a couple weeks, and now I have a couple friends who think that I am upset at them, or um, it got really stressful for my friends and they no longer want to be friends of mine, or they no longer want to invest in me in the same way that they used to. And it's really hurtful, and it's really easy for that to just become even more part of your depression, or whatever's going on, and kind of just eat away at you. And it's just really hard, and that's why you have to try to take a little bit more responsibility. And it's never your fault. It is still part of your mental health, and it is still something that's going to happen. But the more responsibility you take, the more reflection you can do on yourself, and the better you can make situations for you and those around you. And so, I already talked about communication being one of those things that helps me try to strengthen bonds and try to prepare those around me for the things that being involved with me will lead to. And other things that I have to do is take really hard consideration into what is my mental health versus my perception. What is things that I'm actually seeing, that I'm actually picking up on, and what are things that my brain's making up. And just things like, hey, you know you know is it fair that the person is getting upset at me because I'm being isolated? Or is it like okay for them to be upset with me? Like, I have to like weigh these options, and usually like if I'm very communicative about it and I'm like, hey, I need time, or hey, I'm feeling this way, and this way, and they get upset at me, that's when it's like a red flag, like, oh, I don't really need this person around because I'm trying to communicate and they're not being, helpful at all. But if I, you know, did you know, did the withdrawal and like hid in my room for weeks and I didn't tell anyone and then they were upset with me, that would make a little bit more sense. So it's a lot of like, you have to weigh and take responsibility for your mental health, but you also have to, try not to make it like, oh, this is my fault, this is all my fault, or try not to make it like, oh, it's all their fault. And you just have to like kind of weigh and like take a step back and see what is your mental health versus what's really going on and what you can do to make situations better, what kind of people will make your situation better, things like that. And I was just thinking a lot about responsibility because, especially when you are less aware of your mental health, like you don't know what it is that you have or what you're going through, and you're not in an environment where people talk about mental health very openly. You don't really know what you can do to make your situation better, and you don't know how much responsibility you have and you should be taking. And a lot of the times it's a very lonely path because you don't know what's going on, you don't know why people are reacting the way they are, you don't know why you're reacting the way you are, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of self exploration. And it's just going to be a lifelong struggle. And I just wanted to talk about responsibility a little bit, not in the sense that like I want people to feel like bad about things that happen because of their mental health, but because it helps a lot to be more aware and to kind of take in consideration some things that you can possibly do to salvage some of the repercussions that might occur when you have an episode or whenever you're going through something. Um, and this isn't meant to be taken in like oh, you're responsible for everything that happens, you're responsible for your mental health, you're responsible for everything that goes on, you should have known better, like nothing like that. Like that's not what this video is about at all. So I hope you guys don't view that as what's going on. So yeah, those are just some examples. I know different things occur when I'm going through different kinds of things. I act differently when I'm dissociating than when I'm being depressed than when I'm being anxious. Like I will have different reactions for some of my different mental health issues, and I have to be more aware and I have to take responsibility for what happens when those things occur, and I have to be like, okay, well, let me take a step back, let me see what I did, what damages have been done, and let me try to communicate and hope that the people that I'm surrounded myself with are very understanding, and that I don't shut down and like completely ignore what happened and isolate myself from people because I want to like cover up or hide what happened. And I know that's something that I used to do a lot, is like I would have some kind of episode and either like I would be embarrassed about it or be really heartbroken about it or I'd be sad about it, and the people around me wouldn't really understand. So like I'm having a bunch of internal like turmoil, they're having a bunch of miscommunication, and it's not necessarily anyone trying to be malicious or purposefully hurtful. It's just some just the things that happen when people get together and there's a lot of emotions and other things going on. And so that's what I mean by taking responsibility for some of your mental health, because a lot of times we're all in our own separate worlds and we have to kind of do what we can to bring them together. So yeah, that's my little rant on that. Again, you guys, if you guys have any other questions or anything that you want to ask or want me to explore or talk about, um, I'm open to exploring that with you if you ask me them and leave them in the comments. Yeah, so it's definitely a struggle. Uh, Things that are like personal to me are tendencies to kind of just expect a lot from a lot people around me. I have that tendency of expectation, and I have to be more aware that people have their own ways of dealing with things, even when it comes to like other people's mental health. And I have to communicate, like, hey, like, this is what, may happen when you're around me. Here are the ways I deal with it. Like, what ways are you gonna like deal with it? And I've had very honest people around me. I've had people who say, like, hey, I noticed you isolate yourself a lot when you're depressed, and I can only take so much because, I want to help, but you're not letting me help. And, my own mental health gets in the way. And, like, um, they're very honest and open like that. And, like, that's what I love and that's what I appreciate. And, I just want to open up the discussion more about mental health. That way we can have those types of communications with our friends and people who care about us. And, after a while, it becomes very clear who's supportive and who gets it and who doesn't. And it's a very heartbreaking journey, but it'll it'll get easier to talk about, and hopefully we start attracting better people around us that are a little bit more understanding and we can coexist with. So again, thank you for spending some time with me, and I'll try to do more of these videos. I don't know how interested you guys are in them, or um, how much of myself you guys want to know. I just know that talking about my mental health helps me a little bit. And sorry if you guys hear a lot of noise in the background. I do live by a train, so you will hear trains on occasion. And other than that, I hope it wasn't too much of a disturbance. See you around.